Reppin' Philly ain't a choice. It's a way of life. PhillyGoat.com is your one-stop shop for Philly pride. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Look fresh, stay Philly, Philly Goat. Go Birds. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for November 26, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thanksgiving Eve Wednesday edition. Happy Thanksgiving Eve hump day to everyone out there. All right, so let's get into it. Some concerning Eagles news yesterday. Devontae Smith did not practice, chest and shoulder issues. Vic Fangio did say, though, that he expects Reed Blankenship to play, which is good. Sidney Brown is getting the start over Andrew Makuba, or for Andrew Makuba, who broke his ankle. But I don't know. At this point, it's who knows what's going to happen. Kevin Petula obviously had the vote of confidence from Nick Sirianni during his press conference yesterday. He talked a lot about the penalties. And lots of feedback yesterday based on my comments about the offense being conservative. I was in no way taking Kevin Petula off the hook. I think the entire coaching staff, 100%, is to blame for this because they're not ready. They're not disciplined. 14 penalties is just unacceptable. That, to me, goes back to like the Buddy Ryan days when they didn't care. They would take those penalties and overcome them. I think in today's NFL, it's a different game, and you're not going to win many games with 14 penalties. So I was not taking him off of the hook. I was just saying I don't think the offense was that conservative. I think they killed themselves. But again, and for everybody out there, I'll get this out there. For everybody saying you need to fire Petula right now and bring in somebody outside of the building, just stop. Stop. We're in week 12 or week 13 now, and in order to bring a guy in to implement a new it's dumb. We saw that 2 times during the 23 season on defense. It does not work. That would not be the mistake. Now, if you want to take the play calling away from him and give it to, I don't know who you're going to give it to, but Sirianni, who nobody likes when Sirianni calls plays. Somebody else within the offense, okay. But even then, I think it's a desperate move that the only person I would give it to would be Sirianni. And again, we all have gone through that. And I don't know, but firing him and bringing in somebody new, still people out there talking about Brian Daboll. Stop. The man was fired. Stop. Just stop. A lot of people talking about bringing in Doug Peterson as a consultant. Like, I'd be fine bringing somebody in as a consultant, but to completely fire and have somebody new is just dumb. You got to be smarter about this. You got to think. I go through this all the time. You got to think logically and not let your emotions think. Yes, after that game, we all wanted to do it. But if you look at it logically, it was the penalties. It wasn't necessarily for that game. That game, I'm not taking them off the hook for the entire season. They're just not executing. Now, can you say Kevin Petula is not scheming guys open? I've heard that argument 100%. Is some of that on Jalen? Are they not getting the play calls in time to allow him to make changes at the line? Absolutely. I've been saying that all season. Kyle and I have been talking about that all season. So I get it. And I got a lot of, you're drinking the green Kool-Aid and you work for NovaCare. No, I'm not saying Kevin Petula is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I'm saying the offense was not conservative. They had the right play calls. They went at it. I was calling for the offense to be more conservative and try to run the ball more. So I get it. We're all emotional. We're all fired up. It's Thanksgiving week, short week, Black Friday. Stress is high, family members coming in, but I was not saying Kevin Petula is innocent in this. Not at all. All right, they are back in the black uniforms. I think overall they have a pretty good record on with the black uniforms. I know they have lost in them, but I remember one of the first times they wore them was on Thanksgiving in a much needed win at the Link. So hopefully they can summon some of that black uniform magic that they have. But that's really it. It was a quiet day. A lot of, like I said, practice. Nick Petula. There you go. Combining the two already. There you go. That's why Nick Sirianni is not going to take the plays away from him, because Nick Sirianni is helping call the plays anyway. So that's another reason. But they are not the same person. Kevin Petula, Nick Sirianni, or Nick Petula, if you will. But we will have more on this game this afternoon. Kyle and I will be recording early. So likely the new episode of the Brotherly Birds Breakdown will drop, I would say around 6:30ish. So be ready for that. Just in time for you to get ready to go out and see all your high school buddies. Do people still do that? I don't know. There was a point in time where it was the biggest drinking night of the year, and then I would always get up and play golf on Thanksgiving and then sleep at my parents' the rest of the day. But I'm getting hungover just thinking about that. Truthfully, what sounds more appealing the day before Thanksgiving is somebody taking my kids and just going to bed at 6:30. Publish the Brotherly Birds Breakdown and go to bed, and I'll see you in time for Turkey Day. But if you are going out, be safe. Sixers. Now, no Joe, no Paul George, no VJ Edgecombe, but man, that was just a brutal, brutal game. 144-103. It's like they don't want to even participate in the NBA Cup games. They've not done very well in those NBA Cup games, but a 144-103 loss. Obviously, they were shorthanded. Tyrese Maxey had 20, but he can't do it alone. Got a little feisty, too. A couple ejections, a little bit of a fight before halftime. I thought for sure that was going to kind of fire up the Sixers. It didn't. It fired up the Magic. So move on. That's one of those games. I don't want to say it was a scheduled loss, but yikes. What was that? 41-point loss? Eee. Flyers in action tonight down in Florida against the Panthers, who they've not done very well against down in Florida. So we'll see what happens for that. Quick programming note. I'll be completely honest with you. I keep going back and forth on this. There might be an episode tomorrow. There might not be. All depends. I don't know. I think I'm going to do a shorter one. It will definitely be on a little bit later. But if you remember, I used to do it every day. But now I'm kind of thinking, you know what? It's a federal holiday. Maybe, just maybe. But I'll probably do a shorter one and then be back with a regular episode on Friday. And I say shorter, but every time I say a shorter episode, those tend to be longer. It's just the way it goes. But the best way to stay in the loop is subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. Hit the subscribe button. You get notified whenever I post anything on the YouTube channel. So that is the best way to be in the loop. My son is very into watching the Thanksgiving parade tomorrow for some reason this year. So it will be out before the Thanksgiving parade. And then follow me on social media at Philly Jimbo on all social media. Spread the word. I mentioned the Brotherly Birds Breakdown will drop tonight due to the Friday night or Friday afternoon Black Friday game. And then, of course, it is a Thanksgiving season. Between today and the middle of next week, we're going to really start hitting hard the giving. Lots of donations coming in already. So go to my social media. There is a link with the QR code. And then we will be kicking off the reverse advent calendar on Monday. So looking forward to that. It's a great way to get your kids involved in the giving spirit. But third annual gift and food drive benefiting our friends and neighbors at the Maddie and Dixon Community Cupboard in Ambler. So if you can, every little bit helps, even if it's $5. Everything. What I'll do then is take that money, buy the gift cards, buy some food. I had some people donate some gift cards as well, so I'm going to make a trip to Aldi and get some stuff there as well. So thank you for everything. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me offline, and I'll work through it with you. And then yesterday's trivia question, we were thankful for Merrill Reese. Who did Merrill Reese take over for? That would be Charlie Swift. Merrill Reese finished the end of the 77 season and took over full-time in the 78 season for Charlie Swift, who had some issues and couldn't do the job anymore. So thank you to everybody who reached out and made some guesses. Lots of good guesses. I heard some By Sam, who By Sam did do some play-by-play. Bill Campbell, who also did some play-by-play for the Eagles. Andy Musser did some work with the Eagles as well. All those guesses, but it was Charlie Swift who Merrill Reese took over. Headed down the shore, skip the hassle. Let Beach Caddy handle the heavy lifting. Bellhop and Beach Cart rentals are available in Ocean City, Sea Isle, Avalon, Stone Harbor, and Wildwood. Use the promo code Jimbo for 10% off bellhop and cart rentals. Beach Caddy takes the stress out of your Jersey Shore trip. Go to beachcaddy.app. Use the promo code Jimbo for 10% off your move-in, move-out bellhop service and beach cart rentals. Best beach carts at the Jersey Shore. All right, November 25th. First, we're going to go back to 2000. And on this day in 2000, it was Andy Reid and Donovan McNabb's coming out party. They traveled down to D.C. and left Washington with a 23-20 win. Donovan threw for 137 yards and a touchdown, but added 11 rushes for 125 yards and a touchdown, including the little shake and bake move that you always see. He also had the hurdle move at one point, and really got himself into the MVP conversation at this point. David Akers added 3 field goals, and the defense did just enough. Eddie Murray for Washington missed a 44-yard field goal with just over a minute left. As the Eagles moved to 9-4, firmly in first place in the NFC East. They would end up finishing in second place, but Donovan was the story, coming out and showing the world that he was indeed on his way to being a great quarterback. And he did lead a drive to get the go-ahead field goal as the Eagles leave Washington with a 23-20 lead or win. And that does lead us into today's trivia question. Catching a touchdown pass for Washington that day was future Eagle James Thrash, who he and Todd Pinkston is ultimately what led to the Eagles realizing they needed to go out and get Terrell Owens. But in that 2000 season, who were the Eagles' starting wide receivers? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Get that, anything else Philly sports related off your chest. The Discord channel is live too. It's in the description. But who were the Eagles' starting wide receivers in 2000? All right, fast forward to 2017. It is Bears week, so we got to throw a little Bears beatdown in there. On this day, the Eagles beat the Bears 31-3 at the Link to move to 10-1. Carson Wentz threw for 227 yards, 3 touchdowns to Zach Ertz, Alshon Jeffrey, and Nelson Aguilar. The defense held Mitchell Trubisky and the Bears offense to 140 total yards, including 2 sacks and 2 turnovers in a very business-like win down at the Link. But they moved to 10-1, and we were just like, oh my, this is really going to happen this year. But again, very business-like win, and I'm looking for a repeat on Friday afternoon at the Link. And then fast forward to 2023, the Eagles played a Kelly Green game against the Bills in the rain. They were down 17-7, but they battled back. Jake Elliott kicked a 59-yard field goal to tie it late in the game. Game went into overtime, and Jalen won it with a scramble. He ended up with 200 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 65 yards rushing, 2 rushing touchdowns. A fantasy player's dream. I remember it was just cold, rainy, and miserable, but it was a lot of fun. Josh Allen, though, carved up the Eagles for 339 yards as the Bills had 505 yards of total offense. and then the bottom fell out. They were 10-1 and then finished losing 5 of their last 6. And this was really the time we were just like, oh my God, our defense is not good. But the Eagles did beat the Bills on this day in overtime, 37-34. I guess it would have been 34-31 because it was 28-28. So yeah, 34-31. But after this, the bottom fell out. But earlier that day, we're going to go to a little college hoops. And Fran Duffy and the LaSalle Explorers beat Coppin State 81-62. It was Fran Duffy's 600th career win. And he has the most in the Big Five, or as a Big Five coach by far. And sometimes it gets lost, I guess, how good of a coach and how much Fran Duffy means to Philly. I'm not a huge fan because of what he did at Temple, never getting out of the second round despite having some good teams. I don't know if my expectations were too high or what, but Fran Duffy, kind of a Philadelphia legend, Big Five legend, got his 600th win on this day back in 2023. And then later that night, the Eagles beat the Bills in overtime in a Kelly Green game in the rain. The last high point, really, of that season for the Eagles. But that does lead us into What If Wednesday, brought to you by Lotwin. Go to Lotwin.com, get your 3D custom hype chains. These things make great holiday gifts. Use the promo code TCCPOD to take 10% off your order. If you watched any Eagles Twitter or seen Eagles fans down in Dallas, there's a lot of Dallas sucks and all kinds of cool Eagles-related hype chains. Lotwin can do that for you. So go to Lotwin and then use the promo code TCCPOD to take 10% off your order. But these are great holiday gifts. So today's What If Wednesday. What if Fran Duffy didn't go to Temple? I like I said, probably rightfully so. Maybe I'm a little too hard on Fran. I don't know. But never got out of the second round at Temple. Took over for a legend. And I think it's questionable. I know Chaney was very particular on who he wanted to succeed him. I don't know if Fran Duffy was his first choice. It might have been. I don't know the inner workings of that. But who would Temple have hired? And the 3 names that were being floated around there were Bobby Gonzalez from Manhattan and Bruiser Flint, another Philly guy. I know Rick Brunson. There was some talk about him, even though he was still finishing out. I think 2006 was his last year in the NBA. They didn't really have many options, I guess. And especially with, I think it was sort of like a gentle nudge to get Chaney out of there. And I mean, whoever came in, it would have been hard replacing a legend. I think Brunson would have been an interesting choice. Would have been great because part of what happened with Brunson, he became one of Duffy's assistants. And I firmly believe that if Brunson was the head coach, then Jalen would have stayed committed to Temple instead of going to Villanova. And that was sort of one of those things that, like, how do you not go to Temple? Aaron McKee was still playing at the time, but he ended up becoming the coach probably too late. We were calling for him with Duffy. But I guess looking back on it, Fran Duffy probably was the best fit. I don't know much about Bobby Gonzalez, but I don't know if his style would have fit. And then, of course, Bruiser is just Bruiser. Didn't do a whole lot at UMass. Did okay at Drexel, but they were the 6th team in the city and always they're just Drexel. So I guess it would have been more brutal if the Temple Owls did not hire Fran Duffy. But what are your thoughts on that? What if the Temple did not hire Fran Duffy? Who would they hire? Would the trajectory of the team gone any differently? I don't know. But that's What If Wednesday, brought to you by Lotwin. Go to Lotwin.com for your 3D custom height chains. And don't forget to use that promo code TCCPOD to take 10% off your order. And that leads us perfectly into what we're thankful for today. And that is John Chaney. Temple basketball has not been the same since Chaney retired. One of the many reasons, mostly for education, but the basketball team was a huge draw for me when I chose to go to Temple. Always was a Temple basketball fan. Always loved John Chaney. Had the opportunity to meet him a few times on campus, and then many more times over at Walnut Lane golfing. Always talked. Always never remembered my name. Always remembered the face though, and we'd always talk Temple basketball, Temple football, whatever it was. But just an all-time great coach. Led Temple to national prominence and did so with guys that were often overlooked academically by some of the bigger schools. So they always had good players who had to work harder. Chaney would make them practice at 5 a.m., instilling discipline, and never heard anyone say a bad word about Coach Chaney. And truthfully, I was talking to my buddy Corey last night during the Temple-Princeton game, and it's just different. They can't get the players, the NIL, and all of that. But John Chaney, man, what he did for that university and that basketball team, really, truly, truly thankful for. Great man, great coach, but even better teacher. And as someone who's in education, I value that, and I think that's great that John Chaney just wanted to make sure those guys became good men. The basketball was just their vehicle to get there. You don't see guys like that now. Now it's all about the money. The coaches jump ship, but Chaney, one of those loyal guys, local Philly guy, won a national championship Division II at Chaney State. And I don't know, will never be able to say enough good words about John Chaney. One of my all-time favorite people just in general. I'm so glad, so blessed to have gotten to cross paths with him over the years. But today, we are thankful for John Chaney, not only for what he did for basketball, but what he did for hundreds, if not thousands, of players and people across the city. So, Coach, I know you're up in heaven looking down. Thank you. We appreciate you, and we are so thankful that you were here in Philly. On this day in 2023, Fran Duffy gets his 600th win of his career. Later that day, then, the Eagles beat the Bills 34-31 down at the Link in the rain in a Kelly Green game. Sort of the last hurrah for that 2023 team. But 2017 Eagles pounded the Bears 31-30 at the Link. Would love to see Jalen come out and do a Carson Wentz impersonation, throw for 3 touchdowns, and the defense to just shut down Caleb Williams and the Bears. And then in 2000, Donovan and Andy had their coming out party, beating Washington 23-20 in D.C. Donovan kind of creeped into the MVP status as we kind of was like, okay, this team is actually pretty good. All right, we'll have more on the Eagles tomorrow. We will be back. I just made the executive decision. There will be an episode tomorrow. A little bit later than normal, but that's okay. And then, of course, the Brotherly Birds breakdown drops tonight. Kyle and I will go into all the details of this Eagles team and get you ready for the little Black Friday football action down in South Philly. Going to be a busy one, too, because there's a Flyers game that day as well. Thank God I don't drive down to the games anymore. But this has been this day in Philly sports history for November 26, 2025. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a hump day. If you're going out tonight, don't be an idiot. Please be safe. And I just realized, I think I was saying November 25th, but all of those events did happen on November 26th. Trust me on that one. I'm a mess today. I'm an absolute mess. But go have yourselves a hump day. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.